Welcome to The Local Lens, the podcast that brings the South Dakota community together. I'm Jamie Forrest, your host and your local realtor, here to showcase what makes our region a fantastic place to live. Join me as we explore vibrant local culture, highlight community events, and provide valuable insights for homeowners. Whether you're a current resident or considering a move, The Local Lens is your go-to source for everything in South Dakota. Let's discover, connect, and thrive together. Welcome to the show. Welcome back. I'm Jamie with The Local Lens. I'm excited to welcome my guest today, Carrie Gerlach. She is the founder and owner of Black Hills Adventure Tours. She has always had a love for nature. She grew up in British Columbia and later moved to the Black Hills. She spent much of her time hiking, camping, and exploring with her family. In 2025, Carrie took a leap of faith and started Black Hills Adventure Tours. Now, 20 years later, her passion for the outdoors, meeting new people, and showcasing the Black Hills has built a thriving business with nearly 20 employees. So welcome to The Local Lens, Carrie.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love the Black Hills. It's a great place to vacation here in South Dakota. So just tell us a little bit more about how and why you got into the tour business.
Well, so I went to Black Hills State and got my degree in business and tourism. So I knew that I wanted to be in tourism. But prior to kind of going back to school, I had worked at the Alex Johnson in marketing and just kind of fell in love with the people in the industry. It's a fun industry. Everybody has a good time. Everybody communicates well and collaborates. And so I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so while I was in college, I was offered the opportunity to do an internship, and I chose to do that internship in Tahoe. And while I was out there, there were a lot of companies out there that did the adventure type activities. And so I worked with a lot of those people. I worked in public relations. And so when I came back and graduated from school, I didn't exactly know how to do that. And so I started doing just hotel sales. And I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. But in 2005, my daughter was going to be starting preschool, and I wanted to kind of do something different and have a little bit of flexibility. And so there was another tour company that was for sale, and I reached out to that company and kind of talked to her about, what she did and the amount of money that she was looking for at that time was just kind of outside of what I was able to spend. In addition, she just offered a lot of the sightseeing tours, and she didn't really have an active component, which really was what I wanted to do more than anything. And so I just decided that it would probably be best just to do it on my own. And in retrospect, I don't know, it was a slow organic process, of kind of putting one foot in front of the other for a lot of years, where, that I had an accountant one time that asked me why I did what I did because I didn't make any money. And I said, eventually it will, I promise.
Eventually, yes.
And it took some time, but, over the last 6, 7, 8 years, it's really come into its own. And I think a lot of that is due in part to the partnerships that I've made throughout the community and the people that I work with in the community. That those, you have to build those things up, whether it's through TripAdvisor or any of the other review platforms, Google, but also building those relationships within the community so that when people are looking for transportation options or things like that, you become top of mind.
Yeah, community partnerships are definitely very important. So like what kinds of things do you do with some of your partners, and maybe who are some of your partners out there?
So we have quite a few. One of the largest ones is Under Canvas. Under Canvas is a glamping campground, essentially. They have glamp grounds at every single national park throughout the United States. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. Most of the national parks throughout the United States have an Under Canvas. And what it is it's for people basically that want that camping experience, but they're more of the fancy hotel kind of. I kind of fit. I might fit into that into that
Yes.
class sometimes. But so it's a very high end glamp ground. And so we, right when they were opening up, I saw that they were offering adventure tours. And so I reached out to them. And one of the things that is very important to us, and I guess where I should kind of back up with that. One of the important things with the adventure tourism is the sustainability side of things. And one of the biggest parts of that is the permitting process through the National Forest Service, through Custer State Park, through the Badlands, through all of those things, all of those
Hmm.
entities. And so we work with those entities in order to provide a safe and sustainable experience. So when I saw that Under Canvas was offering these different tours, I reached out to them to see who they had offering that. And at the time, they really hadn't decided who they were going to work with for that. And I let them know that we do have the permits, that we've already been established in the area with that, and that those permits are hard to come by, but they're important because that is how you keep yourself safe. If you work with a
Hmm.
company that has those permits, you also know that they have the proper insurances as well. So
Right.
through communication about those types of things with Under Canvas, it just worked out that we were going to be the best provider for that because we offered a product that fit in line with their type of clients that they have coming in. So it's been an amazing partnership. We've been partners with them for 6 years. They sell our packages through their corporate office and then also through their front desk reservation services. And
That's cool.
we pay them
Yeah.
commission,
Yeah.
it's been a great partnership. And with that, we've expanded some of the service offerings. So every Thursday night there, we do an interpretive hike on their property where we talk about the plants, we talk about the flowers, we talk about the
Hmm.
animals, we talk about the history. It actually sits on an old mining camp. So
Mm.
lots of really neat history there right on the camp that we're able to draw from. So that's been a really exciting partnership with
That's
that.
awesome. Yeah.
In 2019, I started working with the Ellsworth Development Authority, and they are a support organization for our military folks here at Ellsworth Air Force Base. And I went to them and I was thinking a little bit kind of similar to what you're doing as far as presenting information to people that are new
Hmm.
to the area. It reminds me a little bit of like the welcome wagon, the old welcome
Yeah.
wagon. And I think that was actually through the real estate industry when that first started.
There was part of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what we do is kind of like the welcome wagon, but it's for our military folks. And so I pitched this idea of doing a welcome tour for our military folks coming into Rapid City
Hmm.
that maybe, all of them are coming from different areas, and a lot of those areas are metropolitan areas. And so introducing them to the outdoor adventure, but also the attractions that we have in
Yeah.
this area. And
Yeah.
in 2021, the base commander made it mandatory, so every time somebody comes in that is new to the military, they are required to do a 2-week program where they learn about the processes of the military, they learn about our community, and one of those days they are required to go on a tour with us.
That's
And
cool.
it's been so wonderful to support our military that way. So we
Yeah.
show them around the base, we show them where they can get their groceries, where they can go bowling, where they can rent kayaks, get their car work done, go to the doctor, go to the vet, all of those things.
Hmm.
But then we bring them into Rapid City and we show them where they can get their plates renewed, where they can get a copy of their birth certificate, where they can go to an urgent care, where they can go to school, the places that they can go and recreate, hiking
Hmm.
opportunities, Watiki Water Park,
Yeah.
um, all sorts of different things. And then we treat them to lunch. We have partners within Rapid City that provide lunch for them. Live Hospitality is one of them, Patty O'Neill's, Fork Reel, which is a nonprofit. So we treat them to lunch. And then in the afternoon, we do an activity. And I have all sorts of wonderful partners: Rush Mountain Adventure Park, Rushmore Tramway, Reptile Gardens, Bear Country, Putts and Glow, indoor glow in the dark bowl,
Oh, wow.
putt putt golf. And they all provide these services. The Journey Museum, they provide these services for free. And it's just been amazing because every time we go to these places, you know, the management or the owners come out and welcome these young airmen and women and welcome them to our community and just encourage them to come out and enjoy all the things that Rapid City has to offer. And
Right.
it's been an amazing program. We've gotten such wonderful reviews from the young people that have been taking the tours, talking about how they didn't know what Rapid City had to offer in the Black Hills and they weren't excited to be here. But now that they've taken this tour, they actually see how much there
Yeah.
is to do in this area and they're excited to be here. So in
Yes.
November, we actually, as a community and large in part due to the tours, we won the Great American Defense Community Award, which is given by the military to communities that support their military. So very, very proud of that program and the role that we have played in order to win that award for our community. And
Yes.
yeah,
Very, very cool to have that in South Dakota. So yeah, you obviously work with all kinds of people, tourists, you have the military. So how do you go about, you have such a different wide range of people coming in. So you put together itineraries for them. How do you go about doing that, to make it meet their needs?
right.
And like, how long do they last? Like, can you pick different hour lengths or tell us a little bit about that itinerary and schedule process with you?
Yeah, so online, you know, I have probably about 20 different offerings that are already set up. Everything
Yeah.
that we do for the tours, well, I guess the sightseeing and adventure side of tours, they're all private. So, for instance, if you already know what you want to do and you have a list of things, we have several tours that already have all of those things packaged together, and we
Okay.
set those up geographically. So, like in the Badlands, you know, it includes Wall Drug and the Minutemen Missile Site and Sheep Mountain Overlook. In the Central Hills, you know, it might be Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, Custer State Park. And then in the northern hills, you might go over and do Devil's Tower and then Spearfish Canyon and Deadwood. So there are already packages that are set
Yeah.
up that if somebody just wanted to come for a day or they wanted to come for a couple of days and they already know what they want to do, they might go in there and find something that fits exactly what they're looking to do.
Mhm.
And so then they can book that directly online. But a lot of times people will email me and they'll say, we're considering coming out to the Black Hills. We're not really sure how many days that we want to be there or need to be there. This is our list of things that are on our bucket list that we want to do. Can you tell us, you know, how many days that's going to take and if we can do all of these things? And could you lay it out? And so, depending on how many people are coming, depending on if they want to do active things, you know, we can customize where they might do hiking in the morning and then do Mount Rushmore in the afternoon, or we might go
Mhm.
biking in the morning and then go to Crazy Horse or go to Deadwood, you know, things like that. And so, depending on how active they are, how much time they want to spend outside, I'll take that all into account and then I'll put it together in the number of days that are appropriate because we don't like to rush things either. You know, you
Right,
want
right.
people to enjoy what they're doing. But the
Hmm.
nice thing about the tours is that once we pick them up in the morning from wherever they're staying, everything is all inclusive. So they don't have to worry about anything. We pick them up. It includes bottled water through the day, snacks through the day. It includes all of their admission fees. It includes their lunch. They're in very nice vehicles that is private for their group. So the really great thing about that is that if you're with your family and say you went on a bus tour, that's got
Hmm.
a set agenda. You know,
Right,
you're
right.
doing what's on that agenda. You're doing it in the time frame that they have allotted for those activities. Whereas if you're on a private tour and you're going down the road and you see something, an attraction or something that looks interesting to you that you didn't know was there, and you say to your tour guide, hey, what is that all about? I might
Yeah.
be interested in that. You know, we're able to kind of move things around, switch things up so that we can allow for that flexibility for each one
That
of the
is
tours.
that is very neat. And like those people coming in don't necessarily have to rent a car then because you come to pick
Oh,
them up and that can
yeah.
save money there. And yes, I like that. Yeah, so many roadside little stops along the way that you can pull off to check out to get a picture at, those scenic stops when you're out in the hills. So that's really cool. That so it is very personalized when they go through you and can be changed by the hour, depending on how things are rolling. That's really, really cool. So
And speaking of
very
the
unique.
airport transport too, a lot of times what we'll do is if they're going to come in, say they're going to come in and they're going to do 3 or 4 days worth of tours, we'll actually build into the package where we'll pick them up and drop them off at the airport. So they absolutely do not have to rent a car then. So when you think about the cost of what it would cost to rent a car in addition to activities that you're doing,
Right.
once we've kind of packaged that in together, it doesn't feel quite as overwhelming or expensive when you.
Right. And it's just all in one place. You don't have different emails for different things. And that is very cool. So that's obviously something unique to you guys. What other things do you guys do there that you really think is unique and keeps your business growing and thriving there compared to maybe other tourism places in the Black Hills?
That's a big question. I
It
think that
is.
there's a couple of different things I think that kind of set us apart. I guess the number one is that as far as smaller companies, we have been around the longest. I started this business 20 years ago. There are not a lot of businesses in this area that can, and especially tour businesses that can say that. I work very closely with a larger bus company here in town that they have been around for 30. But aside from that, really, I mean, there aren't a lot of those. But in addition, the offerings that we have based on the permits that we have allow us to do those outdoor activities in a safe environment. So, the kayaking, there really isn't anyone else that is doing kayaking, stand-up paddleboard tours. The biking, we offer a full service with that. We are the only company that offers a full service guided tour of the Mickelson Trail. So we take people, we provide all of the equipment, their lunch, the transportation, and then we have a guide along with them. And what's nice about that is that, on the Mickelson Trail, there's a lot of areas that do not have cell service. So if you're up
Mhm.
there and say your bike breaks down, whether it's you get a flat tire, your chain breaks, whatever, if you have one of our guides with you, they're able to fix those things on the fly while we're going down the road. The other thing too is that if you don't have cell service and you're in the middle of the Black Hills, you don't know how long it is to get to the next place where you do have cell service.
Google
So
Maps goes down, you don't know where you're going. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And so it's nice because we always have a shuttle driver within a 15-minute ride of wherever we are that is able to support the group in that.
Mhm.
So I think that that really sets us apart as far as the adventure tours. And the other thing too is that we're able to customize with the active tours, like I was talking about before. You can hike in the morning and do Mount Rushmore in the afternoon. So there's a lot of people that just want to come out and do sightseeing. I mean, we do military reunions where the average age was in their 80s, and
Mhm.
we're able to accommodate that with wheelchairs and things like that, transfers into the vehicle. We can't actually take a wheelchair into the vehicle, but we can do transfers in that. And
Mhm.
and one of the things that I'm really proud of with my staff is that they are very adaptable. They can work with a group that is, say, 30, 80-year olds, and then they can work with another group that is a family that has 3 kids under the age of 5.
Yeah.
And so, in those types of groups, obviously, those are very polar opposite types of groups, but because of the way that the staff communicates, they're just able to kind of go in and out with that. And I think that
Yeah.
my staff, honestly, I feel like really is what sets us apart from a lot of other places, because every one
Yeah.
of my staff, the South Dakota Tourism Travel South Dakota they have awards every single year that they
Mhm.
give out at the tourism conference. And obviously it's a process, you have to fill out the information in order for them to have that. But every one of our team members won the Great Face this last year, which sets them apart as a customer service leader. And then last year we won the Mickelson Award, which is an award given by the governor for wonderful customer service. So
That is amazing. Wow.
yeah, it,
Congratulations, guys. Woo.
It was
Cool.
really exciting. It was very unexpected. When I worked 30 years ago at the Alex Johnson won that award. And over the last 30 years, I've watched colleagues and other businesses win that award. And I've seen their staff be recognized for their wonderful customer service. And that's always been a dream of mine and of ours to be kind of in that in that group of
Elite.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've reached the elite status. So, like, obviously, you need amazing people working for you to get to that status, right? How do you find these people? What does the hiring process, if somebody wants to come work for you, what does the process look like to get a job there?
So I kind of have a funny way of doing things. And I think part of it is, we've all worked for different companies. As you've grown, obviously, when you're a teenager, you start with the fast food or the retail or whatever it is. And then you kind of move into that professional work environment. And I think that all of us have had experiences over the years where maybe we didn't see eye to eye with the people that were managing us. I think throughout my course of working over the last 35 years, I've worked in a couple of toxic environments. And so
Mhm.
when I started this company and when I got to a point where I was going to be hiring staff, the number one thing for me was that I wanted it to be a positive environment. I wanted to work with people that were positive. I wanted them to have their own autonomy, to be able to be their own boss. So I really have looked for people that are fun and outgoing and appropriate, all of those things that kind of come together that mesh in order to make a good working environment and a very positive working environment. So I've found people in the weirdest places. I mean, I'll be at the dollar store and talking to somebody at the dollar store, and then all of a sudden, just in my mind, because I know maybe knew that person from somewhere else
Mhm.
and have gotten to know them to the point that I see their personality and see how they interact with people. And so I've asked people in the grocery store line or at the dollar store or wherever it is, have you ever thought about being a tour guide? And 9 times out of 10, they haven't. But then once we start talking about it, they're like, oh, that might be kind of fun.
Mhm.
So then I do a process. It's a 3-day process. So the interview process starts with that initial kind of engagement, whether it's meeting for coffee or whether I've run into them someplace and just started visiting with them. And then it turns into a 3-day process where everybody that is being considered for a position, I take them out on actual tours.
Yeah.
So I'm the tour guide for 3 days. And I have maybe 5 people or so in the vehicle, and we spend 3 full days together. We from 8:30 in the morning until 5:30 in the afternoon. We go and I show them basically what a tour looks like. And
Mhm.
during that time, they have the opportunity then to kind of take in what I know about the area, take in what it looks like, what the timing looks like, what the information looks like. If they bring a
Mhm.
notebook, they're able to take notes and then use those tidbits of information that they have learned throughout the day to craft their own tour. But what's nice about that is that after those 3 days, I have really gotten to know them and they have gotten to know me. And they've also gotten to know like what a tour entails. And
Mhm.
I'll be honest, I've had different occasions where somebody has gotten done at the end of even the first day and said, oh my gosh, this is a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And I just don't know if I'm cut out for this. And I love that because that's why I do that. Because not
Mhm.
everybody thinks, oh, I want to go and get paid to hike or I want to go and get paid to
Yeah.
kayak. They don't realize that there's a lot more to that than just going out and kayaking. I mean, you
There's
have
an
to
experience you're creating for your clients in the process of doing those things. Yes.
yeah, and you have to be knowledgeable about the area. Your timing has to be right. You also have to do the prep to get ready for those tours. So, I mean, it's a lot. And at the end of those 3 days, I have paid attention to, did they ask appropriate questions? Did they talk over me? Did they engage in what was going on? Were they
Mhm.
excited to be there? Were they just kind of there, but not really there, but in 3 days of spending essentially over 20 hours
Mm-hmm.
with someone, that's a good opportunity to get to know them. And I've really had amazing luck with my process because most of the people that have worked with me, they don't leave.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that have left have actually left the area. Or I had a couple amazing guides that they came from an education background and then they went back into education,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've had a couple people that have retired, and I'm always sad when they retire
Yeah.
because then they're gone and almost becomes like a family,
Yeah. Oh,
when you work
definitely.
so closely with people. But
Mhm.
I like to allow them, I give them the tools and then I allow them to do their jobs. I don't
Yeah.
micromanage them. They know what they're doing. It's their tour and they're the ones that, like you said, creating the experience,
Right.
creating the memories, creating those relationships, building those relationships with the customers, with
Mm-hmm.
the guests. And
Yeah.
that's why they're so good, is because
Yeah.
I don't tell them what they're going to do. I mean,
Right.
there are certain things, they're on the tour that there's certain places that they have to go. There's
Right.
certain things that they have to take on the tour. But aside from that, whatever happens after that is on them. And the amount of positive feedback that comes in with the reviews and things like that, I know that they're doing their jobs. I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it. And for me, that allows me then to concentrate on building other partnerships and increasing the business so that I can keep them working.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, we're getting close to the end here. So what we have to know, what are some of the must-sees in the Black Hills? Like if you're coming there, like one or two things that everybody should do.
Oh my gosh, there's so
I
much
know it's hard.
to
That's why you gotta
there.
help
I
us
mean,
narrow it down, you know?
I know it is hard to narrow it down, but I just think getting off of the beaten path, whether that is doing that with a tour company, with a guide, I always think it's better to go with a guide because they do know the secret spots to
Mm-hmm.
whether you're hiking or you're kayaking. And then also, they are also knowledgeable about the history and that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just getting off of the beaten path, getting out of the car and not you don't have to be athletic to do those things either. We have e-bikes for our biking tours,
Oh,
which has
nice.
opened up a whole new world for groups of people because if you're traveling with someone, and even I feel this way sometimes when you're traveling with people, you don't know, like, does my fitness level meet their fitness level? And there can be a little bit of anxiety that goes
Mm-hmm.
along with that. So being
Mm-hmm.
able to offer, the Mickelson Trail, it's 110 miles, but we do a 20-mile ride on that. And it's a lot of downhill. And people like to say, they're so excited to say, I got to ride 20 miles on the Mickelson
Right.
Trail. And they're not going to mention that it was downhill,
Right.
but
Right.
just getting out of the car, I think that's probably the most important thing when you're visiting the Black Hills. We have so many different amazing family attractions to go to, so many off the beaten path hiking trails to go to. And again, the Mickelson Trail is amazing. So just being able to get out, spend some time with a local, finding out those kind of secret hidden spots and finding out that secret history about the area is probably to me the most important thing.
Awesome. I would agree. That would be get out of the car is a must and experience it, the smells and everything it has to offer. So, if
Yeah.
somebody wants to schedule some tours with you, how can they get in touch with you?
So I'm on all sorts of socials, of course, you have to be, but I have blackhillsadventuretours.com. So just www.blackhillsadventure. Don't forget the adventure. There's
Mhm.
other companies that have a similar name, but it's blackhillsadventuretours.com. And then I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, which has been kind of fun to I don't dance or anything on there, but
Yeah,
that's been fun. And on LinkedIn as well. But right on my website, you can book tours directly, or you can hit the button that says reach out. And from there, you can ask me questions and I can handcraft something. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Carrie, for being here today on the Local Lens and sharing your insights to all the adventures we can experience in the Black Hills. So see you guys next time.
thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
That wraps up this episode of The Local Lens. Thanks for tuning in and exploring South Dakota with me. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more listeners. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and more community highlights. Until next time, keep discovering, connecting, and thriving.